tea. The milkman, the paper boy, evening TV. Did I get delivered here? Somebody tell me, please. This whole world's confusing me. Everywhere you look, everywhere there's a heart, a hand to hold on to. Everywhere you look, everywhere there's a place of somebody who needs you. Everywhere you look, when you're lost out there and you're all alone.
How's it going, everyone? I'm Kingman 1987, and welcome to a very first episode premiere of Cooking with Kingman. Today we're at my grandma's house in Dayton, Texas, and today we're going to be cooking a Minecraft cake. So I'm going to turn it over to Hunter, and he's going to explain in more detail what we're going to be doing today.
What's going on, guys? It's Sexy Star, and as Kingman was saying, we're actually at Adam's grandmother's house. We're going to be making a Minecraft cake. We're going to try to make it as close as possible to an actual Minecraft cake from the game. If y'all don't know what it looks like, or y'all just want to know what we're going for, here's a couple of pictures we got over here. Just kind of outlining what they're going to look like and what they're going to try to do. At the beginning, we're actually going to have an interview with Kingman's grandmother. We're going to be asking her for some tips, asking her what she's expecting from our cake, and just overall some questions. At the end, of course, we're also going to have a taste test from Adam's grandmother, and then she's going to tell us what she thinks and if she has any tips for us to improve our cooking. So,
Well, with that, let's head on inside and get to cooking.
Okay, I was born in Alabama, and when I was 2 years old, I moved to Montana. And I lived in Montana until I was 18 when I got married, and then I moved to Texas. Well, my mother worked, so I was the oldest girl, so I had to pick up the slack at home. So I learned to cook early. I was probably cooking when I was 11 or 12. My mother would just tell me what to cook. I'd call her at work and say, okay, how do you do this? And she would tell me, and I would cook. And my dad had a business at home, and I fixed coffee for him and all the guys that stopped by all the time, so I pretty much has cooked all my life. But it's just trial and error, and you know, as I got older, I tried different things. That's what I've done all my life. A few tips that I have, you know, for the guys that are make this video is the main thing is that when you're cooking is to be sure to follow your recipe, because that's very important, because sometimes you might read into it that it's a teaspoon when it should be a tablespoon, and that doesn't work very well, because you either end up with too much of something that tastes horrible or not enough and it tastes horrible. I'm really excited because my grandson and his friends have taken culinary classes in school, and they've done really, really well. And it makes me proud to be able to have them come over here and really like to cook. And with my grandson, he started early because he would always come over here to my house and he'd bake a cake. And finally I just let him bake the cake by himself, and one year he decided he was going to bake a cake for my birthday. He came in and he said, Nanny, I want to bake a cake for you. And I said, okay. So this is the first time I let him do it all by himself. So he came in the house and he turned on the oven and he mixed up the cake. And when I went to cut the cake, and it was wonderful. And I went to cut the cake, and it just kind of crumbled. And we couldn't figure out why. We finally figured out that he forgot to put the eggs in.
How did you forget the eggs?
Hey, y'all! He was only 11 years old.
Okay.
11 years old, and he made that for my birthday, and that was the most wonderful birthday cake I ever had in my life, because my grandson made it all by himself. And I'm really proud to be able to help them make a video. They're doing a wonderful job, and it's going to be lessons that they've learned during their life.
The eggs
And this time they won't forget the eggs.
Yeah, just keep
Oh, I'm going to be really excited to try this cake, because I know it's going to turn out really well. And I'm just really proud of all these boys, young men.
So here we are in Joyce's kitchen. So as you can see, we have all of our ingredients laid out in front of us. So today we're going to be cooking a Minecraft cake, as we said before. So I'm going to turn it over to Hunter right quick, and he's going to tell you guys the ingredients you need to make a cake yourself.
Here we go. Alright, so what's up, guys? I'm Hunter. I'm back. And so here we have laid out all of our ingredients for the cake that we're going to be making today. So starting out, we have about 2 1/3 cups of flour, 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder right here. We have a tablespoon of baking soda in here. We have half a teaspoon of salt. We have 4 eggs. We have a cup of softened butter for us. And then we also have 1 1/3 cup of sugar. We have some milk. The milk is 1 1/3 cups as well. We have our mixing bowl. We have our main mixing bowl right here for our electric mixer that we're going to be using for this. We have our main mixing bowl as well. This isn't like for the electric mixer. This is just put all of our stuff in. We have a spatula here for the batter once that gets all done. Spoon, because you can't make a cake without a spoon. We have a bell just to have a bell. And then for our actual decorations on the cake, as you can see here, we have 3 different things of icing. We actually have 2 vanilla white icing, and then we also have 1 chocolate that we can use on the inside, give that little bit of burst of chocolate in there, because this is actually going to be a chocolate cake. Along with that, we also have our strawberry jam, and that's about going to wrap up all of our ingredients. So now it's just up to me and Kingman to wash our hands, and let's get started.
So, we're finally here in Joyce's kitchen. We have all our ingredients ready. We washed our hands completely. Now it's time to move on to our first step.
Our first step is to actually preheat our oven to 350 degrees. And we also need to grease and flour our 2 9-inch pans for the cake layers.
Alright, so now that we have our oven heating up, our next step is to now flour the pans so that our cake does not stick. So what you want to do is give a thin coat over the entire thing. You don't want it clumped up too much. Some light flat.
Great job.
You want to make sure to get on the side. So there you have a nice battered pan. So Hunter, do you want to give this other one a try?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do this one. So like Adam was saying, we want a nice thin layer on there, just so that we're not getting any of the flour clumping up. Just a good layer like that. Get around the sides a little bit, because you don't want our cake to stick to it. If it sticks to it, then it's not going to come out to that perfect square shape that we're looking for. So that's this step complete. Let's go ahead and move on to the next step. Next step is actually to sift together all of our dry ingredients. Not all of them, but just a couple of them. So did you know that a sifter, you know what a sifter does?
I think it's to get big solids out of small flour like this, so you have just the pure grains of the flour.
Yeah, pretty much. All it does is it just gives the cake a light, airy texture with all of our powders.
So if there's any hard flour or clumped up flour that's been, I don't know, stale due to air or whatever, you know.
Yep, so we're going to be mixing together our flour, our cocoa powder, our baking powder, and our salt. So here we go, right here. Adam, if you want to give me a hand, hold that sifter for me. There we go.
So when using the sifter, you want to gently move it back and forth, only allowing the smallest grains to get through.
Okay, never mind.
That'll be fine.
Okay, and then their cocoa powder. So as you can see, our flour is a bit more light on there. It's very light, very airy. It's not packed together. So we're going to do the same thing for our cocoa powder.
Alright, so now we are sifting the cocoa powder. Basically the same concept as the flour, just gets any big chunks out of there, any hard pieces. Now Hunter, I heard you tasted cocoa powder earlier, and you said it wasn't very good.
Absolutely awful. I recommend no one taste it. It was awful, no good flavor. What I'm going to actually do is there's a couple of chunks of cocoa powder down there at the bottom. I'm just going to squash those up with my spoon so I can get it all nice and battered out.
We don't waste nothing in Joyce's kitchen.
Nothing gets wasted in
Everything is
Joyce's
used.
kitchen. Okay, now our salt. Salt really doesn't need to be drained through because there's really never no chunks unless it's wet. And then our baking powder, same thing. Go through, you can shake it. You can see, mixing it very well. Trying to get all that flour at the bottom back up to the top. Trying to mix all that together just so that way all of our ingredients are evenly mixed. That way we have no weird baking patterns while we're baking the cake. Okay, so now it's turned into like a very light brown color with all of our ingredients. Okay, that's all for step 2.
Yep.
Alright, Adam, so what's going to be our next step?
Well, for step 3, we are going to beat unsalted butter and white sugar with an electric mixer for 4 minutes.
Here you go. I'll go ahead and go grab the sugar and the butter. Here we have this. I'm going to go ahead and pour the ingredients in here for Adam.
Here's our white sugar.
Sugar's in there now, and our butter is actually softened. It's not melted, it's just softened, just so that way it'll be easier.
And if you ever want to soften butter straight out of the microwave, a way to do it is to put it in the microwave for about 15 to 10 seconds. Gets it nice and soft, good for mixing. All right, so now let's get the mixing. So we're gonna put it on speed 3, 2 actually, 1. We're gonna lightly begin. Oh God.
Wait, stop. Hurry up, hey, hold on. Don't. God.
So as you can see, we have some chunks of butter in here.
Which we can easily get with a spoon.
Where's our spoon? Where's spoon?
Adam, if you want to go ahead and stop that, I'll kind of...
Hunter, what are we looking for the texture to be like once we're done?
So once we're done, after about 4 minutes of beating, what we're going to do is we're going to beat in eggs. We actually have our 4 eggs, and we're going to beat those in, and then we're also going to beat in our vanilla extract. So hopefully by the end of it, it'll be very nice, it'll be very creamy. That's what we're looking for. Alright, so after we beat this for about 4 minutes, our next step is to crack in eggs. So I'm going to go ahead and crack open this egg. Best way to do it, just one light simple tap on there. Crack it open. I'm not going to get any shells in there. There's 1. Egg number 2 right there. Egg 3. Egg 4. So I'm going to do with this fork, I'm going to go ahead and beat it in. Go ahead and beat all the yolk back into the whites. That way it's nice and even. We don't have it yolky or chunky whenever we're doing it. Just want to kind of take this fork, kind of break up the yolk in there. Just like we're making scrambled eggs pretty much.
Eggs are very high in protein, so if you wanted, you could easily just chug this down.
But we're not going to do that because we're looking for a cake. Now the recipe calls for beating in eggs 1 at a time. So we're just going to pour in about 1/4 of this mixture every time we need to beat in an egg. And an egg, we're just looking for more of that creamy texture I was talking about. So once we find that creamy texture with each egg, that's when we're going to mix the next one in. Adam, you just about ready for us?
Always ready.
Okay, here we go. We're going to go ahead and put in one of these eggs to the mixture.
Start mixing.
As you can see right now, it sort of looks like grits, if you've ever seen
Show
grits.
the camera.
Now this isn't what we want. We want to keep mixing until it's creamy and soft.
Now it's time for our vanilla extract.
Doesn't that just smell great?
Our next step is to add in our dry ingredients, our dry flour mixture, to the wet ingredients. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and mix these. Okay, stop. And then what we'll also do is we can also use this spoon, kind of bring the wet out from the bottom and add the dry down to the bottom as well so we can kind of mix.
Stuff it up a bit.
Alright, we can go and stop right here. Now, as we can see, you can see the definite color change between these two. If we can show the main camera, definite color change. You can see you have this right here, which is what our batter is supposed to look like. And then on the outsides, we have our just straight dry cocoa powder.
Alright, so now that we got our ingredients mixed, it is finally time to put the batter in the pan. So Hunter, let's get it going.
Of course, we also re-washed our hands since we licked the spoon, but
So you want to evenly divide it over the pan. And it's usually good to put it right in the middle of the pan and then use the spoon to even it out.
let's see what we got here, Kingman.
When you evenly coat it, make sure it's all covered so that it rises evenly so you have a perfect square.
That's right, because the trick here for a Minecraft cake is actually get a perfect square. That's the point. We're trying to replicate it as much as we possibly can. Just make sure we can get it nice and we can get it right. Look about good to you?
That looks good.
All right, and now we're going to do our second pan.
Alright, let's put them in the pan. Alright, let's put them in the oven.
Let's go. Okay, so our cakes are now baked. They're out of the oven. They're cooling. Give them about 10 or so minutes to cool down. But while those are actually cooling down, we're going to go ahead and get to our next step. Our next step is actually going to be rolling out our fondant, and we're actually going to be making the sprinkles that go on top of the cake. We're going to be making sure of those. So Adam, if you want to go ahead and do our little unboxing.
So what we're going to do is roll it out and make it into cubes. So here we're going to cut up the fondant, which is what we're going to use to make our squares on the cake. And it's pretty tough, as you can see. It's almost like a brick. It's like almost dried Play-Doh, almost, but it's edible.
You have to knead it.
So what we're going to have to do is roll it out and knead it.
Okay, so if you want this square, I'll take this square and we'll get to kneading. Kneading basically just consists of just like you would do for your normal bread. All you're doing is just trying to break apart the mold, trying to get it less of a mold shape and more of an actual, free, let loose shape, kind of like a dough. That's what we're trying to get here. All we're trying to do is just cut it up, try to get our squares from it. So
as you knead it out, it becomes more soft and malleable. Almost exactly like Play-Doh. Alright, so now that we have the fondant nice and soft, we're going to roll it out into our sheets. And that will be how we make. We're going to do them one at a time. Hunter, could you hold the board?
yeah.
Alright, we're going to roll them.
The rolling will help flatten them out and give them more of a shape as well. As we can see right here, I'm just going to make a bunch of tiny little squares.
And you can also use cookie cutters if you have any on handy to make even better squares.
We're going to do one more big one, one more thread one like that, and then we're going to be done. Okay guys, so now that our cake is cool, we have it all cooled down, we have 2 different layers of the cake. We have one right here, which is going to be our bottom layer. And then we have another layer right over here, which is our top. We're letting these firm up, cool a little bit more. But as they were cooling down, of course, y'all saw the segment where we actually made our little fondant squares. Okay, so we have the cake here. Went ahead and cut it out of the parchment paper, so that's all ready. And now we're ready to actually transfer this cake over to our cake platter. So Adam, if you want to grab the other spatula. Just like so.
Hold on. Yeah, there you go.
Just like that. As you can see, it's kind of breaking apart in the middle, but it'll be okay. There we go. Okay, so now our first layer is on the cake. So our next step is actually going to be our strawberry jam, and Adam's going to actually spread that, and that's going to act like a glue for both of our layers.
So what you want to do is get a freshly opened can of jam, or if it doesn't have to be freshly opened. You want to put a glob on right in the center. That should be good for now. And then gently, just evenly spread it all across the cake. Kind of just like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Okay, so as you can see, our cake is done. So, Nanny, do you have any closing remarks?
Well, I'm really proud of these young men. They've worked really hard today. The cake turned out beautiful, and it tastes wonderful. And I'm just really proud of the effort that y'all have made. I'm sure it's going to taste good when everybody else makes it too.
Not only can you do it by yourself, you can do it with some friends. Just have everyone together. Overall, it took us about 2 hours to make total with our ingredients, with actually baking the cake. So you're gonna have to have a little bit of time for that, of course. Recipe we have online. We actually found that recipe, so we're gonna make sure the recipe is linked down in the bio.
It's very, very moist. A lot of times when you get a cake, it's dry. There's nothing worse than a dry cake, but this cake is very moist cake. And I love the strawberry jam in the middle. And with that icing on the top, it's a hit, guys. It really is a hit. I think everybody should try this cake.
If you have any suggestions or comments of what we should do next, let us know. And subscribe.
Bye.